These days when I have a speaking opportunity, I get to the venue early, I set up my tripod and my camera, I take a few test videos. I always make sure to inform the organizer that I will be recording myself, but it's for my own use. It's not going to make its way into any promotional material, and they have no problem with that. But they always ask, do you record yourself every time you speak? And the answer is yes, every time I speak, I do record myself. They often think it's because I want to catch any bad speaking habits I have, and that is abundantly true. I do want to catch any bad speaking habits I have. However, there are other reasons I record myself. In fact, there are 5 reasons why you ought to record yourself every time you get on stage to do a performance. 5 reasons. 2 have to do with your audience. 2 have to do with you, and believe it or not, one of them has to do with me. Sometimes, if you're lucky, the audience writes new material for you. Have you ever been listening to a speaker and the speaker says, well, give me an example of whatever? People in the audience start giving examples. Well, this or that or this. Then the speaker digresses and says, you know, one time I asked that question and this lady said something hilarious. The audience has a really good laugh. And then the speaker gets back to making the original point. Maybe some speakers have excellent memories. As for me, when I'm on stage, I'm preoccupied with my own performance, so I don't remember everything that an audience may say. But if you record your performance, you catch all those spontaneous audience moments, and then you can work them into your presentations later. So that's one reason to record your speech anyways, is you can catch what the audience says and let them write some new material for you. Another thing your audience can do for you is clarify your content. This is especially true if you do a question and answer segment. True story, I was recently doing my storytelling workshop, Tell a Story, Make a Point, and I told a story about a previous employer of mine and how management liked to play favorites there, and I outlined all the consequences of playing favorites. Afterwards, in the question and answer, somebody asked, okay, I understand your point, don't play favorites, and that's a very subtle way that you outlined how someone can play favorites. But I missed it. Who is the most favored employee in that previous organization? And I thought, and I said, yes, you know what? I never made that abundantly clear. So now when I give that workshop, I tell the story, and just before I make my point, I say, well, clearly she was the most favored employee in that organization. Now, who's the most favored employee in your organization? And now it's abundantly clear from my story who the most favored employee is. So let your audience ask you the questions, and if you record your question and answer segment, you can make it clear next time. Because if one person in your audience asks the question, you can make it so that nobody in the future asks the same question. Those are 2 reasons from the audience's perspective why you need to record yourself every time. Sometimes the audience brings gold. Every once in a while, you bring some unexpected gold as well. You may say something brilliant off the top of your head, and if you're not recording yourself, that's gone forever. One time, I was doing a speech and something went wrong. I forget exactly, but in an effort to recover where I was, I ad-libbed. I said a line completely off the cuff. Audience burst out into laughter. It was a great moment, and I got back on track. The problem is I wasn't recording myself at that time. So I emailed everyone who was there that day. I said, hey, do you remember what I said? Do you remember what I said? And all of them said the same thing. No, I remember that moment. I remember it was hilarious, but I forget what you said. Now that brilliant line is lost forever. It's just in the ether somewhere. So don't make the same mistake I did. Preserve your own flashes of brilliance by recording yourself every time you speak. Another reason to record yourself every time has to do with comedy and the jokes you tell. You honestly don't know whether your jokes hit until you get off the stage and watch the video back. Sometimes it's an issue of you simply don't remember. You're too preoccupied with your own performance. You can't remember which jokes did well and which jokes didn't do so well. But there's another reason. Sometimes you make a few people in the front row laugh and it sounds really loud to you and you think, oh, that joke sounded awesome. But you put your camera way at the back of the room and then you may realize, you know what, I only made a couple of people laugh there. It wasn't nearly as loud as I thought. So your camera's microphone could be a better indicator of how the whole audience received the joke you told. So that's the 4th reason to record yourself. It helps you figure out how well your jokes hit, and then from there you can decide which jokes to keep, which ones to work on, and which ones to cut out altogether. Are you curious why I said there's one reason to record all your speeches that has to do with me? Well, here's the answer. If you're working on a speech that you've decided you want to take to the next level by hiring a certified world-class speaking coach, having a video makes the process go a lot smoother. Some people come to me and say, I want you to coach me, should I send you a script of my speech? I say, you can do that, but speeches aren't meant to be read. They're meant to be heard, they're meant to be seen, they're meant to be experienced, and I can do that with video much better than a script. Some people don't have that video, and I start with the script. The problem is that takes longer. I can still help them, it just takes longer. Now, if you have a video of your performance, that means it's going to save you time, it means it's going to save you money, because we can hit the ground running. So, having a video makes the coaching process go a lot smoother. And hey, by the way, if you need a certified world-class speaking coach, I may know a guy. So those are 5 reasons why you need to record yourself every time you do a speech or presentation. 1, it preserves any comments that someone in your audience may yell out that you can use again in a future presentation. 2, it allows you to address questions that someone in your audience may ask and then preempt future questions by putting those answers in the body of your presentation. 3, it allows you to preserve any comments you make off the cuff that would normally just be lost because nobody's writing them down, but are caught on your camera. And 4, it lets you see how well your jokes did, so you can judge whether they hit or whether they didn't hit. And finally, it is a valuable tool for coaching. Well, this video wound up being a little bit longer than I anticipated. I considered splitting it into 2 pieces and posting them separately. Then I realized I actually haven't given you a video in a while, so consider this getting caught up with some back payments. Hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you start recording yourself every time you speak for the reasons quoted earlier. And I hope you keep it tuned right here for more speaking tips. Keep it tuned to lastrites.com. That's LAST-WRITES, lastrites.com, and together we, that's you and I, we will lay boring speeches to rest by giving them the last rites.